This will be a description of the Quickdraw weaving program's ability to add annotations and repeats to the warp and weft on a simple little pattern so I can see how annotations and repeats are set up. So I've set this little thing up. Now if I want to add an annotation to a set of threads, what I do is select them in the warp, and if I click the annotation box, it now gives an opportunity to enter a comment or a repeat count. The only difference between an annotation and a repeat is simply one is a note you're using to keep track of what you want it to look like. The other is a command of the program that says it wants to do something coherent with it. And let me enter a comment, call that comment, and if I hit the plus sign, it's going to add whatever I typed into that box, and it's now associated with that block of threads. And say, for example, I wanted to do that block 3 times. If I do a right mouse click on the box, it's going to clear the blocks. A left will just allow me to add more and edit what was there. So if I say I want to do that 4 times, same thing, is hit the plus button. It now has both a comment associated with it as well as a repeat count with that block. And say I want to continue that, and I'm going to pause here for a moment and fill in some more of those. Okay, now what I've actually done is added comments 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, as well as repeat counts. Basically what I want to do is tell it here I want to repeat this block 4 times, this block 3 times, this block twice, 4 times there, 2, 3, and I actually meant to do this block 4 times again, but since I typed that wrong, I'll use that as an excuse to show a correction. So then back up, and I want to make that a times 4. And when I drag from that box up to the repeat count, it's now replaced that text. The same thing would work for, if I select any of those annotations or repeat markers, it will select that block of threads. That's actually a convenient shorthand. Say instead of comment 6, if I do a right tick to clear it, if I wanted to call that a comment 6, I can then drag that and it's now replaced it. So that's how those work. If, for example, I wanted to do this whole block twice, I can actually continue to do that again. If I hit the times 2 and add it, it's now going to add the upper layer there, and again I can add comments to that if I wanted to. So the only difference between a comment and a repeat is an X followed by a number is a repeat, and anything else I type is going to be interpreted as a comment. And it's showing those in different characters and borders, so that even if you're colorblind you can see the difference between the two. But from a practical point of view, they're pretty much interchangeable. And say I wanted to do the same thing here. I wanted to drag these 3 blocks and do that twice also. So I've now added those guys. So I can add repeats that way. And I've talked about how to edit. Say, for example, I made a mistake and I didn't want that block there. If I drag it to the minus box, it's just going to disappear. So if I do the undo, it should put it back. So that shows me the plus and minus. Now, the expand function here will look at all those multiplications. And you'll notice for the first block it's 4, 3, 2, 4, 2, 3, 4, and then those whole blocks are duplicated. If I hit the expand button, there's 4 repeats of that pattern, 3, 2, 4, 3, 2, 4. So it's repeated that whole block, and you can see the comments above it have expanded. So here was the first block on the shafts 1 through 4, the second block, the third block, and then it asked to do that twice. So that's repeated. And if I keep scrolling, I can actually see the middle block that was 4 times. And then 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4 on down. And you'll notice it's left the last thread alone, since I had not had a repeat on that. So that is what it does for the repeats. Now the other function that's down here is the find function will look through that overall sequence and figure out, in this particular case, the algorithm is not perfect. I kind of had a choice. They can either start with small repeats and look for larger, or look for larger repeats and work my way down. On the wrong patterns, each has a disadvantage, so they're kind of both here. If I ask for find 2, it will actually start on the larger and work its way down. See how well that works here. So it actually took it all the way back to where I'd started. If I do an undo on that guy, and if I did a find 1, what it's going to do is find the initial repeats. Well, I actually did break it down the right way too. But depending upon how many layers of repeats, it works that way. The same thing on the weft. And that kind of gives me the overall ability to add in comments and repeats. And those are actually stored in the file. You'll notice here all of the repeats are above the comments. That was the way I typed it. If I save that pattern and then close and reopen it, it's actually going to put all the repeats on the lower row, because in the WIF file, when it saves it, it actually separates the two. So when you import it, brings them back in order, and it will automatically sort the comments and the repeats. The smallest block of threads it affects go on the bottom row, and then the wider blocks will filter and sort to the top. And that gives me all of that function. Thank you.